Hello and welcome to week number one of try that again. Hello and welcome to the XFL week one or opening weekend roundup. My name is Zach Bischoff and I am not joined by Danny Shanholzer. I am joined by my fill-in co-host, Mr. Ethan Spazarski. Ethan, how are you doing this afternoon?
Zach, this afternoon I'm doing just fine. I appreciate the invite again. I'm very excited to talk about some XFL football here today.
Yes, thank you for stepping in for Danny, who is unavailable tonight due to family obligations.
Uh,
First, it's his father's birthday. Uh, First,
no,
just your thoughts in preferably 6 seconds or less. Your thoughts on opening weekend of the XFL
overall
2022.
overall thoughts of the XFL opening weekend. It was honestly not that bad. I expected worse, to be honest. What we saw at the XFL in 2020 was pretty cool. It was kind of the inaugural right before the USFL even became a thing. So obviously, with having the ground laid out by the USFL completing its first full season of any other, uh, other football league besides the NFL and like the CFL, the Canadian Football League, I thought they did a really good job. There's obviously some things you'd like to change up or maybe focus on. Thing I disliked the most about this entire weekend, honestly, was the commentary. With the live mics, I really think it was an interesting to be able to see inside the huddle, inside the booth, inside with coaches and players, but the commentary to me was like lackluster. It's kind of annoying. I was kind of getting annoyed with the commentators. Found myself watching on mute a few times. So
Yeah, really. Yeah.
take away from me.
Yeah, I mean, I think and the thing with that I always because I watched all four games this weekend. I was live tweeting with a couple of them this weekend. If you follow the Twitter handle, which is I have it here somewhere, I'll display it at some point later. But yeah, it's just I like the thing with spring football is the gimmicks, like the new different takes on the rules that we see. So just give me your thoughts on some of the different rule changes and modifications.
Some of the rule changes, I really like what they've done here with the challenging. You can challenge any player. Go back to look on any play, and the inside, obviously, like as I mentioned before, seeing inside the booth, I think that really adds a perspective to it because there are a lot of calls or a lot of things you wish you could look back and change in the NFL, or if there's pass interference call that's clearly not pass interference or a false start that's missed. In the NFL, you can't throw the challenge flag and get that fixed or reviewed, or you can't go back and play anyway. So with the XFL, I think that's my favorite thing is the challenge. Granted, you are only given one instead of two.
Mhm.
It's basically college football, but with a few extra tweaks. I
Yeah.
don't like the kickoff new rule where you stand 5 yards apart, then you go at each other as the once the ball gets into the returner's hands. I kind of think that's a little stupid. But limiting the high speed collisions isn't a bad idea. It is a safety precaution. It's
Mhm.
not. I mean, it's good, but I mean, for popularity and people watching or football fans especially, I think it kind of, annoys us more than anything.
Mhm. And one of my favorite rule changes this year is the additional onside kick opt-in. So you either have, and I was talking to some people on Twitter yesterday. There was a little bit of confusion surrounding this. So if in the fourth quarter, if you're leading, if I'm sorry, if you're trailing or you're tied, you can either and you score, and we'll get to that in a second. The tiered points following a touchdown, but it's either a traditional onside kick or a fourth and 15 from your own 25-yard line, I believe it is. So that's one of
Yeah.
my favorite rule changes. Um, we did see that converted once this past week, and we'll get into that here in a moment. But I just want to hear your thoughts, lastly, on the tiered sort of extra point.
Oh, yes, the
Pay.
extra point rule. No,
Yeah.
you know what? That's also something I like. It kind of adds a different aspect to it because we've heard of the 1 and 2 pointers, but then you could now go for 3 points at
Three.
the 10-yard line and the 2 point conversions at the 5 yard line. Granted, warranted if there is a penalty, it does move closer depending on what the call is. But I like the whole layout. I think it makes it interesting. That's one of the changes that I don't mind at all. I think it really adds the value of interesting, like I mentioned before, to what we have here and what's presented to us. So you got to find ways to be different than the NFL to be able to outcompete other TV programs or sporting events that are going on. Granted, the NFL isn't on during this time, but you still got to get people to come and watch your programs and keep it interesting and lighthearted. So I think that's a good value that adds to what the XFL is trying to do right now.
Yeah, so now we are going to, if I can figure out how to share my screen properly, I will do click that and go there. So, here is, are you seeing this, Ethan?
Yes, I do see this.
Thank you.
Uh
Uh,
huh.
so here we're going to go through this game by game here. Arlington defeated Vegas in a thriller, 22-20. Now, I think Vegas was the better team for for the first half of this game here. It seems like the teams that were trailing, it seems like that a lot of the teams are second half teams. In this,
Yeah, no, it was you could never count, and I mean, we also didn't know what to expect. I mean, it's basically a bunch of groups of misfits, really. I mean, you
yeah,
don't know what to expect. You don't know who you're going to be seeing or who's going to be, what to like how they're going to play out. A lot of these guys are no names. A few of them did play in the NFL, got cut, didn't get onto a new roster. They're trying to get that second chance opportunity, as The Rock says. The real dream starts now for a lot of these guys who maybe didn't get drafted or got cut from NFL teams. So we didn't know for any of these games what to expect, who was going to be the top quarterback, who was going to step in and deliver, who was going to be able to lower the shoulder, make some plays, who was going to be able to make those deep, impressive catches. I saw a few really good deep ball catches, contested catches this weekend. We also didn't know defensively who was going to be, big plays, who's going to be able to pick out that ball, who's going to be able to get to the quarterback really well. But overall, all these games, for the most part, were pretty close at certain points. So I cannot
yeah.
complain. I honestly, I think three of the four games I would rate three of the four games were actually pretty good. Something I would watch over again if I had to.
hmm So that actually leads into my next question. What was your favorite game of this opening
My
weekend?
favorite game, to be honest, I think it was the Seattle Dragons DC Defenders game. That
Okay.
was my favorite game. It was close throughout the entire game. Seattle Dragons happened to be. I mean, they happened. I think like their layout, their uniforms, and their logo are actually my favorite out of all the entire XFL. But that's not here nor there. And it's not because Ben DiNucci was is their starting quarterback there for
Yeah.
Seattle, former Pitt man, Whippeal man himself. But just for the fact that the game was close throughout, but it was also high scoring. It wasn't too defensively strong. We
hmm
saw enough offense and defense to keep everybody satisfied. There were a lot of really good catches. It made me laugh. Ben DiNucci had a shovel pass, and everyone just started blowing up and beefing over it. I'm like, why are we doing that? Because we know if Patrick Mahomes was doing the same thing,
Yeah.
people would be going just as nuts over it. So it makes no sense to me about that. But
hmm
but the Seattle DC Defenders game was my favorite.
hmm My favorite game of this week was the San Antonio Brahmas and the St. Louis
Oh, the
Battlehawks.
yeah.
Ethan, your thoughts on that game in particular?
That game was the one game I was referring to that kind of annoyed me. I'm not gonna lie. There was a lot of I mean, but for the Brahmas, you got Hines Ward, so Pittsburgh people are obviously going to turn their head when they hear the Brahmas are playing with Hines Ward as their head coach. But
hmm
the defense for them played really well the most of the game. They were able to get a lot of good stops, but I mean, it was it's really just like it was a really slow paced until the last 2 minutes is where things got interesting. It
hmm
didn't really have anybody. It didn't really have my attention up until then, but by then a lot of people did check out. I mean,
Uh-huh.
the final score was 18-15, so you can't even say it was a lot of offense.
Yeah.
I'll give credit. St. Louis to me has one. I really like their logo, but I
Yeah.
mean, really, besides that, I mean, AJ McCarron only threw for 190 yards, 2 touchdowns. He got sacked a lot. Their leading rusher had 55 yards. Brian Hill, like it was just there was nothing exciting about it. And defense, I mean,
Yeah.
people offense is more exciting than defense, realistically. However, defense is still very important, and obviously, defense can win you games.
Yes. And also, defense can win you championships. Apparently,
Yeah,
um,
they say that. They do say that.
they do say that. Yes. Yeah. I really like the Brahmas' uniforms. I like their colors. And I like their stadium. The what is it? The Alamo Dome.
Yeah, it is the
It's
Alamo Dome. That is where actually the XFL championship will be taking place this year, the
yes.
inaugural season. Well, I guess you could call it the inaugural season. They did start in 2020, but they didn't finish because of COVID.
No. And I think they would have finished if it weren't for the
No, they definitely would have finished. The
COVID pandemic.
USFL got the reason it's had more success is because it came out just after the COVID and the pandemic had kind of started to
Mhm.
settle down. So they got kind of that lucky draw there. But I mean, honestly, if I'm if I'm these hosts and these guys, I don't get why we're not combining the XFL and USFL. They both have the same purpose. Obviously, there's some rules that are different about each different, I mean, league. But to me, these two leagues are similar enough. You can combine them and find a common ground. So to me, I think over the off season, granted, I understand it's two separate brands, but it all goes towards the same thing. So I think it'd be interesting if you combine the XFL and the USFL over the off season. I mean, granted, it is not going to happen. Like I mentioned, two separate brands, two separate companies.
Yeah.
You got Apple, Microsoft. They do have the same stuff that does the same things, but different ways of doing it. So I mean, take it how you will, but I honestly believe that we might have a more interesting situation if there were combined. This was a combined league here.
Hmm. And also, did you see last night the DC fans? So what DC
The
fans like to
lemons,
do? The lemons, yes, they
the
like
lemons, yeah,
they like to take their empty beer cups and what have you, and make a beer snake out of it. I have not seen any images of this yet on Twitter, but
yeah. No, it's
and
it's a lot of it's funny.
and apparently stadium security has been taking it away. So what they decided to do was throw lemons on the field. I actually tweeted about it last night, and I said lemons have been thrown on the field. I can't can't say I've seen this.
It annoys. You know what? It honestly annoys me when fans are doing that, like throwing
Yes,
catfish on the ice
catfish. Yes, that's,
in the middle of a hockey game, or they're throwing. I mean, bottle. Their beer's a bottle. They were during a Indiana Hoosiers game when they were playing Purdue. Fans were throwing beer cans and beer cups onto the court when they didn't like a call. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're just making a goon out of yourself here. It's not funny. It's annoying. And you get kicked out for life. So for the 10
uh,
seconds of either funniness or drunkenness you're living, you're overall the what goes wrong is overweighing what could go right or what's funny. So it doesn't make sense to me.
yeah,
But I mean, do whatever you want. It's a
yeah.
natural it's like it's a natural grass field, so it's not like it's killing or anything, but it's more or less annoying over anything.
Hmm. All right. So, and let's see. So, now we're gonna get into week two. Ethan, we will both make our picks here. So, Ethan, you first. St. Louis and Seattle.
Both teams, I mean, Seattle coming off a last minute win in the last 2 minutes. AJ McCarron was able to bring that offense back to life. Able to score 15 points in the last about 2 minutes of the game. I'm gonna take the St. Louis Blue, or excuse me, the St. Louis Battlehawks here over the Seattle Dragons. However, I do think it'll be a high scoring affair. If I had to give you a score, 28-25, somewhere in that range makes sense to me.
Okay. And next, DC Defenders and Vegas Vikings.
DC Defenders, Vegas Vipers. This is going to be a low scoring game. Both defenses aren't bad. Wide receiver wise, the Vegas Vipers didn't have anything impressive to me. They didn't have a leading a really good rushing stat line. I'll take the DC Defenders in this one.
The San Antonio Brahmas and Orlando Guardians.
Brahmas and Guardians both had an underwhelming first week. Granted, we didn't know what to expect, what was going in here. Like I mentioned before, it is a band of misfits here. But if I had to take one, I would say the Brahmas have a better shot over the Guardians.
And lastly, Arlington and Houston.
I'll take Houston and the Roughnecks in this one. There's a lot of hype behind them. I honestly think they can make a deep run this year from what I've seen. I mean, granted, it is 1 week, but out of all the amateur players I've seen, the Roughnecks look to be the most together and best team chemistry wise.
All right. I am just going down the list here. I'm going to take St. Louis over Seattle. I'm going
Good
to take
choice.
Vegas over DC.
Wrong.
Hold on. Hold on.
Holding on.
There it is. No, no, wait. Hang on. There we go. There we go.
Oh my god!
Yes.
My climactic for that. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yes. Yes. Amateur out here. Danny's not here, so
No,
not as
I
fun.
wish he was here. At least we'd have the voice of reason in here. But no, we have to have you instead. I don't get that.
I run this thing as my thing says.
Yeah.
I started this thing anyway. Uh, Vegas over DC. I will take San Antonio over Orlando,
Good choice.
and I will take uh, Arlington over
No, my
Houston.
gosh. I'll tell you what, Arlington does. They are my favorite jerseys, to be honest. I think they do have the best jerseys. I like the blue. I like the red lines and the numbers, the gray letters. I like the Brahma Bull on the back of obviously the branding with the rock on the back of all the jerseys. Think it all looks nice. Ties it together really nice.
Ethan, any final thoughts for the folks
Final
listening or
thoughts.
watching out there?
Just that the XFL has impressed me so far. Obviously, I think there's things to work on, but I think for the most part, it's going in the right direction. I'll be interested to see if this lasts. Granted, the USFL did prove us a lot of people wrong, so only time shall tell. But I am grateful for football instead of having to wait 208 days without seeing a regular season NFL game.
Ooh, very specific. All right, that's going to do it for the week one roundup of the XFL. I want to thank Ethan for once again showing up and filling in my co-host spot for Danny, who was unavailable tonight. And we will see you next. Hang on, we will see you next time right here on the. Glad to meet you. The All Things Sports podcast.